Hi everyone, this is Fugue. Welcome to my Rise to Ruins Nightmare Survival Guide. This is being done on the unstable build for InDev 31, so it has a few changes from the current stable build if you're just playing this on Steam. A few of the mechanics have changed. You can subscribe to the unstable build. Otherwise, in a few months' time, this and a few other changes will become live in the stable build, but I'm playing kind of on the unstable where a couple of changes have happened. Most of this should be applicable anyway, but this is basically, I'm going to start with just the first few days, because I don't want to make this video too long, but just stepping through how to survive the first few days on Nightmare difficulty, which is the hardest difficulty. I'm going at Lawacre. You can pick any map. All of the strategies kind of are not map dependent, so you should be able to follow the same principles no matter which map you want to go to, but this is one that I've just sort of been working at a little bit. So I'm going to place my camp down right to start with, and the time is actually ticking from the moment that you start the game. So and I've just put that a touch too close, but that's alright. The time is ticking from the moment that you that you enter the game, so putting your camp down pretty quickly is an important step. You want to get started as fast as possible. So the first building that goes down after the camp is a lumber shack. Highlight a whole bunch of lumber for everyone to collect, and I'm going to use my powers to add some stone to the construction to speed things up. Also tell people to mine out this stone here. So you can see everyone's confused because I've been using the grab power, which is the shortcut key is the tilde or grave key. Any power or spell you use around villagers will cause them to be kind of confused. They might panic and run. They'll stop whatever they're doing, and then once they come out of that confusion, they're just going to pick the next kind of task associated with their job. So it's kind of a big disruption. It doesn't really matter so much this early in the game, but if you can imagine having a big village, lots of people, if you start using powers around them, then it can really sort of slow everything down and disrupt the village a lot. So you'll probably see me trying to kind of be a little bit more subtle with how I'm using powers as the game goes on, but this grab power is one of the most effective for kind of speeding things up and keeping things going. Ancient Radiance pools, there's only one on this map, but some maps have as many as 4. An Ancient Radiance pool is a good kind of, it just builds essence over time, and it's especially good in the early game for making sure that you've still got kind of the ability to keep working on things. So that lumber shack is almost done, and so I'll just grab all the essence. As people chop wood, as well as harvesting food or crystals, essence gets released into the world. Just, you can hear the little ting sounds when I'm picking those up. Those are giving you, they're refilling your essence bar. Laying down 4 houses and going up to 4 lumberjacks. One other thing that I forgot to build before I get that, the ancillary. Ancillary, I'll just increase the priority to the top so it becomes the first thing they build now, and I'll contribute stone to the construction. An ancillary is basically a support building. It provides the job of organizer, and organizers are one of the most vitally important kind of jobs in the game. only need one more stone. Organisers basically fill in the gaps from all of the other jobs. So you'll see I've got only lumberjacks and builders at the moment, and what's happening is when a builder, if a builder can use some of the materials here to construct, they will do so. As soon as there's not enough materials to actually start doing this kind of building thing, their next sort of AI pattern is to go and collect resources from the world to help with the construction. And then the last after that is to actually go and gather resources themselves, and they're much slower. You can see I've only got 3 lumberjacks. That's enough to kind of provide plenty of wood for all of this. Actually it's not, well, I've got to add a 4th. So these builders are much slower than the lumberjacks at gathering wood. As soon as this is finished, I'm going to drop 2 builders and make them organisers, and what I want to get to is a point where the organisers are shuffling lumber to the construction sites. The builders are spending most of their time just building. If they have to go back and collect more resources, so be it, but obviously I want to have lumberjacks getting enough wood to supply all of these constructions, and you can see there's quite a high demand of wood to get all of these buildings up. And you can see now these builders are starting to work here. 2 organisers, down 2 builders. This lumber shack is still producing plenty, that's good. So we want to get these houses up as quickly as possible, and then we're gonna, once we've done most of the wood heavy buildings, we're going to transition into stone. Right, so I've got full essence now. One of the things I might do is I'm going to build 2 wells. Now one thing that you'll notice, I'm adding directly onto the construction site here, so this is going to mean that the materials are ready to go. Builders can come up and start building this. Even though the priority build order is set on the basis of the order you place them down. So you can see 6, 7, 8, and then bottom. But because I've added materials here, these builders, as soon as they've run out here, they're going to go up and start constructing here because they're stone. They can actually make construction progress. Just going to gather some more essence. So upgrade that yet. Upgrading the lumber mill is not so much about adding extra storage, because you can see I'm using it about as fast as I can produce it. If I switch to 5 lumberjacks, I'd probably end up stockpiling a bit of wood, which wouldn't be the worst thing, but basically as soon as I start stockpiling a bit of wood here, what I'm going to do is trigger an upgrade, because then all I need to do is drop 8 rocks in there. It'll automatically consume as much wood as is in here for the upgrade. So if I've got 24 wood in here, I hit the upgrade button, it's all ready to be built. I can just drop 8 rocks here, and then the builders will be able to just go to town and finish it off as quickly as possible. But we'll finish off these 2 wells, and then I'm going to get a farm, put the farm here, and I'm going to get from that food source there. That's basically where I'll be harvesting from. I'll mark this stone because this is, I'll put the stone mine in this little nook here. Now, getting these houses up super fast is good because it's really simple. If wood's the only resource and you're only building buildings that require wood, it's straightforward for everyone. If you have excess housing capacity, which I will have as soon as this one's finished, I'm going to go up to 16 housing supply with only a 14 population. 14 population is a pretty good start actually. You can have as few as 12 I've seen, so it's a bit randomised how many people you have. But if I've got extra capacity, that increases the chance that nomads will visit. Just going to clear up that space. You can see as the construction sites get a bit further away, it takes a bit longer. I don't want to lose any of this essence, but I just, you know what, I might start this upgrade now, just so I can throw this in here, and then grab these. You can see the lumberjacks are delivering lumber and directly onto the construction site, so those upgrades can go pretty fast. Now I'll take a moment and show the corruption spawned down here. It'll normally, based on where I've started, and there we go, Nomads day one, excellent. They're going to pop in from somewhere around here. They might have come in from the north. There we go. So I've got 2 nomads, they'll both become villagers, and I'll be up to 16 on day 1, which is a really good start. The corruption always spawns basically as far away as it can from your camp placement, where it has access to wood, stone and crystal resources. So based on my start location, it generally either spawns up here, because it's got kind of this spot here, or down here where it's got, you know, less wood, more crystal. But this means that at night, enemies are going to be kind of funneling up this way, and I'm going to need to kind of make my wall around here. Well, I'm not going to make a wall, but let's see, I'm going to just add as a builder for the moment. I'll have 2 towers here. That's basically where I'm going to have things sorted for day 1. The farm's not yet done. It's alright. Now I'm being as fast as I can with the grab tool, because the longer you hold on to resources after you've picked them up, the more influence it costs. And also, it's just, the faster I can be, the less chance there is of a villager walking in and then getting confused. So that's me trying to be a sneaky deity and, you know, operate in secret. So that upgrade has been finished now, and that means we've now got 48 total storage in this lumber yard. As well, you've got a harvest bonus speed. So with 4 lumberjacks on there, that's, you know, equivalent to almost an extra half a person working on there. It's not a great deal, but it all helps. So the farm's just about to be finished. Might be able to just get the last of the stone delivered here. I don't want to end up with builders having to kind of collect stone. So you can see that it's lining up nicely. I've got the mining facility done just as I start to run out of the ability to kind of gather stone on my own. And the next few buildings I'm going to need are going to be, I'm going to set up my defense because it's midday. We've got another kind of period of time in the evening before we get to the time when monsters are going to start spawning. So what I want to do is build a tumbler, and I'll put them sort of closer to where my front line is going to be. I might actually just use it to give me a bit more room. So it's far out, but that'll give me space in here to build a few other buildings. And as soon as this is done, put 2 builders to idle. They'll hang up their tools and they're going to become miners. And the same rule applies with the mining facility. If it starts getting built up, a build-up of rocks, and it only needs 16, I can upgrade it, and then it just needs a bit of wood delivered, and I'll get the same bonus for the mining facility. So because I don't actually have any other stone, my builders are mining, so I'm just going to make a quick head start, just so now I've got 8 stone. That'll obviously, builders or organisers will start lugging that down here. I've got my farm done, so I'm going to just mark this area and this area over here to collect food from, but I haven't actually assigned anyone yet because we're not in a desperate need of food just yet. We're not actually in desperate need of water just yet either, especially not if it rains. But I didn't build a rain catcher. Now, when it comes to water, you've got either wells, rain catchers, or purifiers. So your rain catcher is useful if you're relying on rain, because it'll fill up very quickly. And you can see it can store 8 water buckets. I've built 2 wells. They can only store 2 water buckets each. So 1 rain catcher would have given me more water in this storm than these 2 wells have so far. But you can't always rely on rain on day 1. You can build 1 well, 1 rain catcher. Rain catchers only require wood as well, so in that early stage of, gathering a whole bunch of wood, it's not a bad idea. The other option is the water purifier, but you can see that's a lot more expensive, 24 wood, 24 rocks. It also requires a water master. So there's water master jobs, but I'm not actually assigning anyone, because if my organisers have a spare moment, they're going to deliver buckets of water to these houses. One's already been delivered. Whereas with the water purifier, no work gets done unless you have a water master assigned. What the water purifier does, you'd place it somewhere like here, close to the water. They'd grab dirty water, put it in the purifier, turn it into clean water. Wintertime, these lakes will freeze over, so I try not to. I wouldn't want to invest in it this early, but I tend to go for either rain catchers or wells, and because I don't like to rely on just the rain, because you do have a storm smell, but it costs a lot of mana, so it's not an early game option. So if you want to take the risk and go for rain catchers, go for it. Otherwise, the well is a good option. And I'm going to add in a bottler, I'll sneak them in over here. The bottler will take water from the well and turn it into bottles. And I'll spend a moment just discussing how bottlers and sort of farms and things help your people, because you can see everyone's got a bit of equipment. This was one of my nomads, so he started with a lot of other things. Most of your starting villagers start with nothing. They've got equipment for armor, tools, weapons, but they also have food and water. So what happens is, when it comes to food, I'll allocate a farmer to this building in a moment, and the farmer is going to start harvesting this food here, and he'll harvest it in the same way that these guys are harvesting. Sorry, just going to add some dry stone supplies. In the same way that these guys chop wood, in the fact that they'll harvest more than they can carry and just rely on other people to pick it up and take it to the yard. I might actually drop down to 2 lumberjacks. Actually, I'll start my farmer now. They'll dig up a lot of this food, and then everyone is going to basically say, as soon as there's food available in the village, because there's none now, once there's food available, at a high priority, every villager is going to say, oh, I'll go and grab that and keep it in my inventory. They won't actually eat until they get to probably about this stage, around 50 out of 100. But even if they're completely full, they'll want to seek out food just so they have it on hand. And that means that if they're in the middle of working, if they're far away from the village, no matter what, they can just stop to eat. A bottler is the same sort of principle for water. Normally, your villagers are going to be getting slowly thirstier over time, and once they get down to around sort of 20, 30 thirst, they'll seek out a well or a house that has buckets of water in it, and then they're going to drink that. If you can get a bottler going and get them a bottle, it'll work like food. They'll pick up the bottle ahead of time, and then they don't have to disrupt their working to actually gather that food. So you can see everyone's just picking up food now and eating it. This guy, no. So one of the things that you'll see is I'm not actually going to go from more than one farmer. Even as my village gets larger and larger, I'm pretty much going to stick with one farmer, and I'll talk a little bit about the overall strategy here as in just a moment as it starts to take shape, but we're still just kind of working on our basic infrastructure here. So you can see I'm just making sure my builders have got plenty to keep going on with. So I've set 16 as my goal of stone balls for the tumbler, because I'm going to be focusing on building bullet towers. I don't have any building slots, so I can't build them now, but as soon as this upgrade is finished, I'll be able to. I'll set one bottler for the time being. Alright, bullet towers. Now I'm just basically doing this to be safe. I can rebuild these in more appropriate locations later. And I'm just going to add crystal to the construction because that's the only resource I don't have at the moment. You can actually I could mark this crystal to be harvested, and I'll probably do that anyway, so that, you know, they won't just stand around being confused. I'll do this upgrade now. Actually, I'll wait a little bit longer and get some more stone in there. just make sure this gets done before dusk, before night. So at dusk, some monsters will start to spawn. These are just drones, they're the construction guys. So they're building the graveyards and kind of expanding, but you can see there's the first headless has spawned. So they start spawning slowly at dusk, and they get, you know, it ramps up as you get into the night time. So I might get a tumbler started. So most of the stone is heading down here. We've got a bit of stone in there. So that's ready to go. So hopefully the last of that stone is being delivered now. We'll get 2 tumblers happening. Alright, so those towers are going to go up, and hopefully I'll get the first production out of here just in time. I might start this upgrade. So there we go. Oh, we got one getting through. Just sticking here. Now you can pick up enemies and dump them into Cullis gates. I try to get them more going after the towers because I can get the essence from them there. You do get some essence from the Cullis gate, but I don't think you get as much as you do from if they're killed normally. Time. My tumblers can finish off some more stone balls. I can actually So normally I'd hope to have both of these up and with ammo in them by the time night comes around. It's a tiny bit behind here, but this is kind of phase 1. This is what you want day 1 to look like. We've got food, we've got water. I've managed to sneak in a bottler as well, and I might, depending on how much water I've got available in the village, because those he'll bottle up all of that water, and then I'll have to retask him waiting for the wells to refill. Basically, you can see they're almost empty. He's just, I think he's out of work at the moment, so put him back onto building duty. But this is a good setup for day 1. Because all through tonight, these 2 towers are going to kill basically everything that comes in. You can see I've got almost complete coverage. It's very unlikely that they're going to go so low and come up this way. See what this fellow does. Yeah, he's pathing that way, but he's going to path through the tower anyway. So, and the tower, once it attacks, will pull aggro, and off he goes. So that's the main thing that you want. If I can catch everything that's coming in, and sorry, I'll just set the next stage going. If you can have these two towers covering your base, and it's a little bit harder at the moment because the pathing has been randomized somewhat. This is something new to this build, where this build of the game, where the AI has sort of changed so they don't all flood in the same way, which makes it harder to kind of get this coverage. But this is a kind of a good choke point. It's a bit wide, but it's not so wide that I can't sort of cover everything, and as long as one of the towers catches them, then I'm pretty much safe, and that means that nobody's disrupting the village. Everyone here can do what they need, and what they need to do is get up a stone cuttery. There we go. The less these guys are disrupting villages, the better that the more productive they're being. It's basically all about optimizing so that your people can be focusing on the economy, on getting up buildings, because the next phase is stonecutter, and then kitchen. And the only reason we're getting the stone cutter is we need cut stones for the kitchen. That's basically all there is to it. Now I'm out of food there. I'm almost out of food here. But I do have 16 population. As long as you've got 15 minimum population, you can cast Motivate Land. And that's a spell that's going to mean that even though I started off with quite a small amount of food, you know, this is not a big patch, this is an even smaller patch, and you can see that it's not really going to last very long at all. I can cast Motivate Land and kind of get myself a big chunk of I can grow this patch out to be much larger than it is now. Almost got. So if I cast it out here, now this works on trees and food. You can see I don't actually want the trees. But I'm going to get a lot of essence when these get built anyway. I'm going to cancel my tumblers, and they're going to become my stone cutters. Still got plenty of wood and stone with the two that I have, the 2 miners and 2 lumberjacks I have now that I've gone through this sort of wood intensive phase. Another thing you can do at night time, because it's dark, do a quick scan of the surroundings, and there we go. That's a suspicious key. I'll take that and put it in the village. Basically, you want to look for those kind of things. They can appear anytime, but I find it's just easiest to do a quick scan at night time, because then you'll spot them right away. And that basically in either of those points, those little sort of glimmery patches, you click on them a bunch and you'll get either a loot box or a suspicious key. It's kind of a 3-to-1 ratio. There's sort of, you generally wind up getting 3 loot boxes for every 1 suspicious key. You can purchase more suspicious keys from the marketplace as well. Yeah, we're getting plenty of essence from there. Now, my builders aren't finishing off this, which is unfortunate. So what I might do is set another construction job. Not harvesting, refining. Lumber mill. Oh, I've got to upgrade my camp again. Almost enough to cast another Motivate Land. There we go. And again, I'll try to get it so that it's not going to affect this wood and it's only going to affect this food. I think it might be... Yeah, it's regrowing a bit of the forest there. It's unfortunate. But you can see this is starting to expand this food patch, which is right next to my farm. As soon as this this is done, and I probably shouldn't have done this now, it was just the fact that I was running out of food, because now this is delaying my kitchen, but... Oh, somebody got through. I'll let him go. Let him go. I'll add another ancillary. Actually, I'll have houses going there. Just check. Oh, I'm out of building slots, so I can't. So what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now everyone's just going to finish off all of this construction. Alright. So we're on day 2. And today is all about getting our food economy going and getting a marketplace. Because the core of this strategy at this point is to start selling rations. Rations are basically what you produce. We've been making raw food so far, or I say making, we've really just been picking it up out of the ground and then using Motivate Land to regrow it. But the main thing beyond making a kitchen and starting to process all of this into food, we also want to build a marketplace here. Oh, I've got the suspicious key in the way, but that's alright. We'll build that marketplace there. We only need one more building before we can do that, and that's going to be a, we've got a stone quarry for cut stone. We need a lumber yard to turn the lumber into boards. And I'll place that down, but probably up here. There we go, now I'll have the building slots available. You can see I'm trying to aid the construction so that everyone's kind of going as fast as possible, and I'm focusing on, I usually focus on adding stone because it takes longer to lug about. Wood, and also I'm using stone to cut into blocks here. Still got plenty of ammunition, so that's not a concern. Alright, I'm going to go for infinite food, set 2 cooks, and I'll take it from my builders. I could probably take it from the stone cutters. Now these guys don't actually need to be doing this anymore. But I'll just build up a little bit of a surplus before I do that. You'll see once the marketplace goes up and I start getting money coming in, that I'll probably stop actually using both of these buildings mostly. They'll just be for storage. I need them because there's no other way of getting those boards or cut stone in the early game until you've got the marketplace. But once you've got the marketplace, I find focusing heavily on producing food and then using that food to just basically sell and buy anything I need works a lot better, other than kind of the real basics like wood and stone, which you can just get fairly easily. I can't upgrade this anymore, but I am actually running out of storage. One other thing I've got to do is build another house because my housing is full. So I'll take these guys off in just a moment. Going to have another quick check around for any loot boxes or suspicious keys. And you can see the corruption starting to spread. They've got a graveyard and a bow tower so far. This strategy is mostly about, I'm going to end up building a bit of probably a maze and a wall around this area. I'll kind of push out just a little bit, but mostly I'm going to take kind of this area. I'll probably wall off here, and wall off somewhere up here, and that's going to be by day 5 to be kind of fully protected from blood moons, which spawn blood slimes anywhere within your building range. So walling off is kind of about making sure that your range is under control. You don't want a whole bunch of things spawning in here and coming in. But most of the focus will be on building a maze here to protect against growing waves. But I might not take this video that far because it's already fairly long, and what I really want to get across is the basics of starting up quickly. And because if you can survive the first couple of days and set up this sort of economy, then realistically it's up to you how you want to play it out. You don't have to be kind of the most I'm building just enough defense to survive. You can kind of switch focus and build more defense up so that you're safe for a few days. But this should give you a pretty good basis for how you want to keep playing the game beyond these early days. You can see even with a small food patch that I started off with, I don't actually need this at all anymore. I can kind of tell people not to worry about that. I will need to do a motivate land to kind of replenish my wood supplies shortly. All my bottles have been drunk, so I'll get my bottler back, and I think I'll get rid of the stone cutters now. We've got a good supply of cut stone and that'll be used in upgrading the marketplace. More nomads. Another 2. Oh, another 3. That's pretty lucky, because I was at full housing capacity. and we're only just going to start. I'd actually keep... Right, both of these guys can become organisers. And I'll need at least somebody to start lugging boards. Get 2 carpenters. And again, I'll take one from builders. And now we want to put down our marketplace. So we need 16 boards, 48 wood, and 24 stone. So lumberjacks are going to be hard at work again shortly. Slow down on the builders and replace them with more organisers. So I've got very few builders now, but you'll see that most of the work is actually going to is starting to become getting the resources to the site, not so much the actual construction. I can help that along by doing this sort of stuff. Pretty soon I'll start upgrading this housing rather than building more as well. How's my bottler going? So we're midday. Things tend to slow down a bit on day 2. It's tricky to kind of make this transition because you've got so many of these expensive buildings to get through. You've got to get the lumber mill up, and that was, 40 wood and 30 stone. You've got the marketplace to get up. You can get the kitchen up relatively quickly, and I'll want to upgrade that, but might as well just put it down so the organisers can start lugging things there, because really I'm just waiting on these boards to get done. And I want to get one more cast of Motivate Land to kind of regrow this forest. So that's not too far away. So organisers are super important because they're the ones that are going to keep everything flowing. That's something a lot of players, particularly newer players, don't realise. You can see what they do. They deliver all of the goods everywhere. So you can kind of pay attention to see if you're seeing construction that doesn't have, that's got all sorts of resources there but isn't being built, then maybe you've got more organisers than builders. But normally it's the other way around. I've only got 3 builders, but still they're gonna, they're keeping up with the delivery of goods. And I've actually got 5 gold. So gold and iron ore gets revealed as you mine. I've got 5 gold, which is going to be great because another thing that I'm going to want to do is build a forge. And that's annoying. I've got a little gap where I can't build there. And that's going to take a while to clear, especially with 3 builders, but once the marketplace is finished, my range will increase, and then I'll put the forge down. That forge can turn those gold ore into bars and then into gold coins. and gold coins are what I'm going to be using to buy. I'm focusing on mostly getting gold from my kitchen by producing rations. I'm already at 37. I've only got 19 out of 20 people, and the rest is kind of going to be distributed in houses. As you can see, most of these houses have rations as well as raw food in them. I'm setting an upgrade to this, which is going to require more of these boards, but the boards are all going to go to finish this construction first. But that'll increase the storage capacity of the kitchen. It's going to give me another cook spot, and it's going to give me that 10% bonus. And eventually I'll upgrade this to an established kitchen. I'll upgrade the marketplace as well, so I can get more people in for buying and selling goods, and then you'll start to see it really rolling. Alright, time for Motivate Land on the forest. If you can get this before, always try to do this when nobody's in the forest already chopping wood, because you can imagine they stand still going, I'm totally confused about what's going on, and then trees grow around them and surround them. If that does happen, you can always pick people up and drop them outside, but you know, always trying to avoid that situation. So I normally don't speed up the game at all, but for the sake of this video I might actually do so now, because really I'm just waiting on this construction to happen. I can probably add some more rocks to my supply. That's a little thing you can do all the time to, you know, just as a sort of an extra thing if you're not sure where you can add value. Just delivering resources is good. So I will go up to 2 times speed. We're in midday. I've already gotten Nomads today, so there's really not much else that I'm waiting on. Probably should have had more lumberjacks. That's what's slowing me down as well. All my wood is being used to create boards, and there's not enough for this construction. Here we go. There. I would really like to have had this finished much sooner, because cat jeep provisioners and cat jeep labourers only arrive during the daytime. By the time this is finished, the day is almost going to be up. The first thing I'm going to do is upgrade it to increase space, but realistically I'm hoping to have a provisioner arrive, and that can still happen despite the fact that there's no provisioners assigned and it's currently being upgraded. You can see I pre-built that cut stone, so now I have enough for this upgrade, as well as I had enough for this upgrade. I'm still producing boards to try to make sure I've got enough. I'm going to need to add another lumberjack. And I'll take one of my carpenters away. So I want to keep an eye out for whenever there's a cat jeep who arrives here. They can still arrive in the evening, but as soon as it hits, you know, dusk and night, then chances of seeing a provisioner come about are just gone. How's that bottle going? There's still water in the well. As long as there's still buckets of water available, I don't mind having this bottle working. It seems like my organisers are just, they've got a lot to do, so I might not even have enough with 4, but gonna need another motivate land on my farmland. Yeah, it looks like I may not get a cat jeep at all today, which is unfortunate, because if you can get a provisioner arriving on day 2, if you can get this finished and a provisioner on day 2, they'll stay all night anyway, and you can see my kitchen is pretty much fully stocked, so are all my houses. It's just going to mean that, yeah. Oh, no, we do have one. Excellent, excellent. Last second. Alright, so here we go. I've slowed down to kind of go through this. I'm going to sell, I want to keep enough for everybody there, so I'm going to sell 20, and I'll sell my silk because I don't need that. But what I'm going to buy are, firstly, tools for my miners, and I have 2 of them. Tools for my lumberjacks, and I think I have 3 of them at the moment. Tools for my builders, which are hammers. I'll get 4 of those. And then I'm going to put down my forge, like I talked about. And that needs 16 cut stone. I've only got 3, so I'm going to buy some more. I'm also going to upgrade the kitchen, which is going to need cut stone and iron ingots. So and I'm going to have to assign provisioners to this to actually make the deals happen. So I will take one of my builders. Yeah, I'll take 2 of my builders. Actually, I'll take my bottler. And motivate land here. Oh, we've got a child happening. Land on my wood pile shortly, but so the provisioners, where are they? Here's one, and he's just eating. The provisioners will basically take that they'll take what I've sold, take it to the provisioner, get gold, put it in the gold storage. Then they'll take the gold and buy whatever I've got ordered. So here we go, bang. Now now they've bought the iron. An organiser will come and deliver that iron to the construction site here. You can see that it actually happens pretty quickly once you get going. You can probably get by with just one provisioner, but because, you know, one was eating a ration, this one's actually, you know, going back to their house. I want to make sure that I get all these trades done, because that's really what's going to slow me down at this point. You know, you can see that I've got very few people, and I'm going to upgrade housing so that I can actually get more people in. And again, these two towers will be fine for tonight. I will have to remember to keep them loaded, so I've still got more stone to buy. Grab that shovel. I tend to try to grab things from here so that just so nobody tries to grab it. There is a change to the AI where they will perceive that this area is kind of threatening because there's enemies there, and as soon as the enemies are gone, they'll come and pick it up, but I really don't need them to be picking up stuff anyway. Good, got him. Let's see. So once we have the marketplace kind of established, this is being upgraded to established. I'll upgrade this again. And then by tomorrow, we'll be able to have basically loads of cat-jeet provisioners and cat-jeet labourers coming in, because that's what we want. You want to increase the population as much as you can by both making sure you've got the housing supply so that you're getting nomads in, but then having the marketplace upgraded as much as possible so that you can have cat-jeet labourers coming in and hire them. And then they're just basically one extra population. It tends to cost about between 13 to 1800 gold. And you can see I've kind of been spending money as soon as I make it to get tools and to get a few other things that are going to help me in the short term. But I also know that there's no chance of having any cat-jeet labourers show up at the marketplace until tomorrow morning, so I might as well spend the money now, knowing that I'm going to make more fairly shortly. Motivate growth. Might turn off my carpenter and turn them into a builder, because I actually don't have enough organisers at the moment because I've got construction here and a full lumber mill. There's not enough people moving it over, but I've already got 4 organisers. So builders is kind of the next best thing, because for the purposes of construction they'll log the lumber themselves. But I am gonna, my next building is probably going to be an ancillary again. I'm going to get somebody smelting that, so I've got gold ready to go. Question is, what am I going to take it from? I'll take a lumberjack off because I've already got enough lumber. I am going to go through a lot more lumber shortly as I upgrade all these houses. So you can see that nighttime actually gives you an option of getting a lot of essence from just clicking on these things, on these corpses, and drawing in the essence when they die. Oh, I think he could get trapped. Possibly not. There we go, that's good. Place my ancillary down there. You can see a lot of the micromanagement is about getting essence in and spending it on, you know, things that'll speed you up. There's another kind of element to this strategy that I'm probably not going to cover in this video, because as soon as I start seeing the marketplace come up, I might end it sort of there. But we'll see how we go. I'll go through day 3 and see if I can get to that point where I'm starting on the essence economy, basically, because I'll need to use most of this land and kind of push my borders out a little bit. But we're kind of at the end of day 2 here, and we can continue selling. So you can see I'm getting up to that, like, I like to have sort of 15 to 2 grand available, so that if a catch eat provisioner comes up, a catch eat labourer comes up, I can buy them straight away. And at the moment, all my construction tasks are kind of stuff that doesn't actually require anything. Well, I want to upgrade this again. So I'm going to need 16 cut stone, 16 iron ingots. Let's go. Eight boards, which I already have. So you can see I still only need this one farmer. He just basically digs up the raw food. The cooks are right here, and they basically go to the farm, or organisers put them on a high priority to go to the farm. Even the farmer's going to drop it off there. The cooks will just load the place up with raw food, cook it up, it goes to the marketplace and gets sold, and then from there I'm getting everything that I need to aid in this construction. So these are just, I don't have people working at them anymore, and it's mostly just extra storage. I probably don't need 2 miners. I've got 100 stone, and I'll do down to one each of the miner and lumberjack. I'll put those on too. They'll become organisers as soon as this is done. But for the time being, I might as well make them builders. One thing I probably shouldn't be doing, but I have been, is mixing up the construction. So remember that builders will first try to build the highest priority building that has materials available. If that doesn't work, then they're going to go and gather materials. But because I've been dumping materials on here, they can actually go and start building this, but they're not going to finish it, and all the organisers and everyone else is going to be focusing on delivering the last 12 bits of wood here, then the last 8 bits of wood here. If I had to kind of focus my attention on delivering wood here, it'd all be running a bit smoother. But instead I've kind of dumped resources into here because it was convenient and easy, and I kind of want the marketplace. So I could either change the priority and put this at a higher priority, and sort of, because I've already got 3 extra spaces. 6 is better than 3, but you don't really need too much. As you saw earlier, I was at capacity and I still got 3 nomads. I'm sort of fingers crossed I'll get another 3 today, but you never know. It might be none, it might be 2. I'm already doing pretty well with the fact that I have 20 population, or I had 20 population by day 2. I started with 14, and then it's been sort of, 2 nomads day 1, 3 nomads day 2, and then 1 child born, which it's not really, that's not going to count as a working villager, but so we're starting to see our builders are still focusing on the wood construction. Our organisers are helping out. But as soon as this is finished, I'll move straight into 6 organisers, because that's what's slowing down the pace here. The fact that, and it's usually the case that materials can't be delivered fast enough, because as you've got more and more happening in the village, your organisers have got more and more tasks. They're still moving water from the wells to the houses to the bottler. So you can see the bottler's still got 2 buckets of water because an organiser has gone and done that at some point. They're still moving materials to construction sites. Everything that I buy here, they just dump on the ground, and the organisers have to pick it up. So now I have 4 Catjeek provisioners, and I don't actually need that many. Here's a controversial thing. I want Catjeek labourers. This thing is going to fill up with Catjeek provisioners. I've upgraded it to as far as it'll go, to give myself as much room as possible. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to get some Catjeek labourers, I need to get rid of some of these provisioners, and there's no actual way to dismiss them or move them away. So what I'm going to do is dump them in a colorscape. So I'm hoping that in future we will get the ability to dismiss cat sheep provisioners, send them away once you finish trading with them. But until that time, this is kind of a bit of a hack to make sure that you can still build, you know, you can still actually build, get labourers in, because I haven't had a single labourer yet this game. But that's kind of, I might leave this here rather than moving on further into the day and working on the Essence economy. The next step would be to start laying down, to start working on defences by building a 3x3 block of, where are we? 3x3 block of Essence collectors. Now these take crystals and stones. I can just dump crystals onto the construction site, and I can start with maybe building 4. Then from there I can actually buy the chrolithium which fuels them, because you'll see I got 2600 and I keep selling food because I keep making much more food than I actually need. I'll come back here and just add another 10 every time. As long as I've got 30 food kind of stored in the village around, like the houses have got food and the cooks are going to keep going, I can actually, I don't need to have anybody assigned here. Anybody that I would have assigned here, or anybody who would be working at a crystal refinery, I'll just have them making food, sell the food, buy the chrolithium or all the building materials I need, build. I'd start with a 2x2 of Essence collectors, and then I'd probably want to build out these defences before the end of the day. And again, you know, if I'm building defences out here, I can aid in construction by dragging stone across. The marketplace isn't far, so everything that I'm buying is really close to the front line. That's why I've placed it here, aside from the fact that this is where the food is. But this means that I can kind of rebuild this front line here. I'd build towers. Once I've got Essence, I can build golems. So your 1 or 2 stone golems who will basically just be tying up enemies around the towers. That's all that they're there for. They're just there to tank for the towers, so enemies will kind of, you know, move to them and try to attack them. And stone golems are great because they've got the most health. They're sort of slow moving, but they're good defensive ones. If you can get, you know, if I would, right now my focus would be 4 Essence collectors, rebuild this kind of front so that I've got coverage, and I saw a couple of enemies coming up, you know, really down this laneway. I'd be sort of trying to build out a bit of a line here, have the golems there, and then start to kind of build a bit of a wall and get ready for constructing a maze there. And remember, day 6 is when the blood moon comes. This is as far as we've gotten in just 3 days, not even a full 3 days. This is 2 full days and we're on day 3 now. You get sort of a wall off here. In your own time, you can kind of wall off here or push it out a little bit, wall off these areas. Again, just so, and I put gates in here just because eventually you want to be able to migrate to different directions, but also if you've got catchy provisioners and labourers coming in or nomads coming in, you want them to path in nicely from these areas. The main reason for, you know, the only other things you need out here are some kind of golem towers, maybe 1 or 2 kind of towers will have a ballista in the middle, just to kind of give coverage over it all. But over and above that, if you have your 3x3 Essence built and you upgrade those, you buy a chrolithium to fuel it, then if all you're really using Essence for is to power a couple of golem towers, you can actually draw the rest of that for your own power and, you know, spam motivate growth. You can drag to aid in construction. You can build the wall and just drag the stone piece by piece in. That saves your organisers a ton of time. You will be able to build up a wall with just a handful of builders because they'll just run down the wall constructing if they don't have to lug all the materials to the site. You'll be surprised at how quickly you can wall off. The whole effort takes probably most of the day, but it means that you've got 2 days until you need to do that. And so the next 2 days now, or the rest of today and most of tomorrow, would be set up sort of the basic outline of what your first kind of piece of the maze is going to be, have the towers and the golems there, and then the essence collectors are going to start dragging from all the dead bodies, so you don't have to worry about all the micro of clicking and things like that. But what you will want to do is buy a bunch of chrolithium and then just dump it from when it's purchased. It lands on the ground, dump it onto the essence collectors so that they're constantly being fueled, and you're trading cash for the ability to cast spells at an almost constant rate. You're trading cash for the ability to save yourself from needing to have workers assigned to all this sort of stuff. And if all the construction starts to get centralized around this marketplace, it becomes really efficient. I haven't really touched on waymakers or anything like that, because if you think about waymakers, you need to know what the pathing that you want people to have is, and then you need to kind of devote most of a day to rerouting all of your labour onto waymakers, getting them to build and upgrade those roads. And if you're going to upgrade them, you need a lot of wood, a lot of stone, a lot of boards, and then a lot of cut stone. It's very intensive. And at least in this early stage, I've found that I'm not really getting the payoff in the first kind of, if you think about building the roads now, you're not really going to see that payoff very much until kind of day 7 or 8 or 9. I'd rather be safe for the first blood moon, and then from that point you can start to really upgrade all of this stuff, because the only other thing to focus on is reinforcing this maze for the waves of corruption that are coming. And they're going to get bigger and bigger with each day, because as they build more corrupted graveyards, you get a greater amount of spawns. So when we last checked here, they had a graveyard and a tower. They've now got a second graveyard. So unless that got built yesterday, tomorrow night is going to be a bit more intense than last night was. And I used up kind of, at least half my ammo supply. So if I'm adding more towers and adding more defences, then I'm going to need more ammo. Whether you want to build it out of your tumbler or just buy it is up to you. You can see, if I'm not buying things, I'm now 4k gold. I can dump a few more provisioners into colour skates to try to find labourers, but realistically I've bought tools so that I can work faster. I can buy ammo, it's not that expensive, and I can buy everything else I need to keep going. So that's where I'll leave it. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you give it a try, I hope you enjoy sort of seeing your colony go up quickly and being able to survive. I'm playing a little bit on a knife edge by going sort of 2 to 3 days with just these 2 towers, but you can play more defensive. You can kind of add some walls into here to try to make sure that the enemies are going to hit your towers. But just remember, if you start off lumber mill as number 1, aid in its construction by dragging stone over, and then if the rest of your buildings early on are all wood-based buildings, then you can kind of use your essence to keep adding, manually adding to the constructions that need stone. You transition to stone before the end of the first day so you can get your tumbler up and get your defensive structures up. From there, you want to get your stone cutter so you can have a kitchen, and then your lumber mills so that you can get the marketplace. Get these upgraded as far as possible, and if you've been mining gold, throw down a forge so that you can add to your kind of gold early on. I probably want to increase my, upgrade these wells, or potentially just add in a rain catcher or move into a water purifier if I've got the extra hands on deck. But just focusing on making room for more population, adding to it, and then just adding only as much defense as you need. But that's it. If you join the Discord for Rise to Ruins, there's loads of experts in there who can give you advice, answer all questions. Ray, the developer, is pretty accessible in there. He's willing to answer questions, and if you're on the unstable builds, then you can really help him out by giving you feedback as to what changes are working, what exploits you've found, if there's any bugs or crashes or anything like that. I've only had this game crash once in these unstable builds, and it was just a one-off. So yeah, absolutely, join the community, help out, and give the game a good review, because it's a lot of fun, there's a lot of depth here, and yeah, thanks for listening.